She could have called the police. One phone call, and his life would have been over. Because the man standing in front of her that night was a thief. Cold. Nervous. Desperate. Caught red-handed with stolen goods in his shaking hands. Everyone else would have reported him immediately. Some would have shouted. Others would have demanded justice. But she didn't. Instead, she asked him one simple question. Why? And what happened next changed both of their lives forever. Because instead of reporting him, she did something no one expected. She let him go. She even gave him money, and told him to never come back. People called her naive. Some said she was foolish. She never saw the young thief again. Until 5 years later, when one of the most feared mafia bosses in Korea stepped out of a convoy of black cars, looked straight at her, and said her name like he had never forgotten it. But what happened next changed everything. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure you're subscribed, because this one gets intense. Seoul never truly sleeps. Even at midnight, neon lights glow across rain-slick streets, reflecting off windows of convenience stores and late-night restaurants. For Amara Okoye, night shifts had become a normal part of survival. At 27 years old, she lived alone in a small studio apartment on the edge of the city, balancing 2 jobs just to stay afloat. By day, she worked as a receptionist at a modest private clinic. By night, she covered shifts at a small convenience store tucked between an office building and an aging apartment complex. Life in Korea had never been easy for her. Her father had been Korean. Her mother Nigerian. After her father passed away when she was still young, her mother raised her alone, teaching her to work twice as hard just to be treated half as fairly. Amara had grown used to curious stares. To strangers asking where she was really from. To customers complimenting her Korean as if fluency were surprising. She rarely complained. She simply kept going. Because giving up was never an option. Every month, part of her salary went back to her mother. Every week, she reminded herself that difficult seasons did not last forever. And despite everything life threw at her, she remained kind. Not loudly kind. Not performative kindness for attention. Quiet kindness. The type no one notices. Returning a lost wallet without checking inside. Helping elderly customers carry groceries. Staying late at work when coworkers needed help. Doing good without expecting anything in return. Some people said she was too soft. Others said kindness didn't pay bills. But Amara believed something simple. People deserved compassion, especially when the world gave them none. She just didn't know how soon that belief would be tested. Because one winter night, her shift ended later than usual. Cold air wrapped around the streets like a warning. Snow had started falling softly, covering sidewalks in silence. The convenience store lights flickered as she locked the door behind her. She checked the register. Turned off the coffee machines. Counted the cash drawer carefully. Routine felt comforting. Predictable. Safe. Until she heard something move behind her. A sound too deliberate to be the wind. She froze. Listened. Another noise. Closer this time. Her heart began beating faster. Someone was still inside the store. And they were not supposed to be there. Amara slowly stepped toward the storage aisle. Fluorescent lights hummed faintly overhead. The silence felt heavier than usual. Then she saw him. A young man crouched near the back shelves. Thin jacket. Worn shoes. Hands trembling as he shoved packaged food into a small backpack. He looked up suddenly. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, either of them moved. Shock held them in place. He looked barely older than 23. His expression wasn't aggressive. It was terrified. Like someone cornered by life itself. I can explain, he said quickly, voice uneven. Most people would have shouted. Threatened. Called the police immediately. Amara didn't. She studied him carefully. Not the stolen food. Not the open bag. His eyes. Eyes filled with fear, but not cruelty. What's your name? she asked calmly. He hesitated, then answered quietly. Ji-hoon. Why are you stealing, Ji-hoon? The question seemed to catch him off guard. Because it wasn't anger. It wasn't accusation. It was curiosity. Honest curiosity. His lips pressed together tightly, as if deciding whether telling the truth mattered anymore. My mother needs surgery, he admitted. I tried everything. I applied for jobs. No one called back. The hospital won't wait. His hands shook as he spoke. I know this is wrong. But I didn't know what else to do. Amara crossed her arms slowly, thinking. Not about the stolen food. About the desperation it represented. Because desperation rarely comes from laziness. It comes from running out of options. You could go to prison for this, she said gently. I know. Silence filled the store again. Outside, snow continued falling quietly. Life moved forward for everyone else. Inside, time seemed paused. She looked at the bag. Instant noodles. Bread. Basic necessities. Nothing luxurious. Nothing excessive. Just survival. Put everything back, she said finally. Ji-hoon blinked in surprise. What? Put it back, she repeated. He hesitated, then slowly returned the items to the shelves. One by one. As if unsure whether this was a trick. When the bag was empty, he stood still, waiting for punishment. Instead, Amara walked to the register, opened the drawer, took out some bills, walked back to him, placed the money in his hand. His fingers instinctively tried to refuse. I can't take this. Yes, you can. Her voice remained calm. But listen carefully. If I ever see you stealing again, I will call the police myself. Ji-hoon nodded quickly, emotion tightening his throat. I promise. Use this wisely, she said. And don't waste the chance you just got. Tears gathered in his eyes. Why are you helping me? Amara paused briefly, then answered simply. Because someone should. Ji-hoon bowed deeply. Over and over. Words failing him. I won't forget this, he said quietly. Then he left, disappearing into falling snow. Amara stood alone in the quiet store, unsure why something about the moment felt significant. She locked the door, turned off the lights, and walked home, not knowing she had just changed the course of someone's life. Life didn't suddenly become easier. Kindness rarely delivers instant rewards. Amara continued working long hours, balancing responsibilities, ignoring subtle comments from coworkers, sometimes pretending not to notice uncomfortable stares. Her supervisor once suggested she smile more. A customer asked if she was lost. Another assumed she didn't speak Korean fluently. Small cuts. Not enough to destroy confidence, but enough to test it repeatedly. Still, she persevered. Because resilience had become her habit. Months passed. Then years. Ji-hoon became nothing more than a distant memory. A brief moment of compassion in an otherwise ordinary life. Until strange headlines began appearing. News reports about an emerging figure in Korea's underground economy. A young strategist building influence across multiple industries. No one seemed certain where he came from. Only that he moved carefully. Quietly. Effectively. Rumors described someone who valued loyalty above all else. Someone who rewarded those who helped him, and removed those who betrayed him. His name surfaced occasionally, but rarely stayed in headlines long. Amara paid little attention. Her own struggles demanded focus. Rent increased. Her clinic reduced staff hours. Financial pressure returned. Then one afternoon, her coworker received the promotion Amara had worked toward for 2 years. Despite stronger performance reviews, despite greater experience, her supervisor gave a vague explanation. Clients feel more comfortable with familiar faces. She understood what that meant. That night, walking home alone, she wondered briefly whether kindness truly mattered. Whether doing the right thing actually changed anything, or if the world simply rewarded power. She never regretted helping Ji-hoon, but she questioned whether compassion had a place in modern survival. Still, she kept moving forward, because stopping would mean surrendering, and surrender had never been part of her story. Then everything changed. One email altered her path. A recruitment offer from an international hotel chain opening a luxury branch in Seoul. Higher pay. Better environment. Opportunity for advancement. After years of endurance, possibility finally appeared. She accepted, unaware her past was already waiting for her there. The hotel was unlike any environment Amara had worked in before. Marble floors. Soft, golden lighting. Staff trained to anticipate needs before guests expressed them. Every detail designed to communicate prestige. Her new role involved guest relations, professional attire, formal interactions, higher expectations. Her confidence grew gradually. Until one evening, tension spread quietly among staff. Security presence increased. Managers whispered urgently. Important guest arriving. Very important. Luxury vehicles expected. No mistakes allowed. Amara adjusted her blazer carefully. Checked guest reservation files. Then she heard it. The sound of engines outside. Multiple engines. Not ordinary arrivals. Deep. Controlled. Powerful. Black vehicles pulled up one after another. Doors opened in sequence. Men in tailored suits stepped out. Earpieces visible. Movements precise. Guests watched from inside the lobby. Curiosity rising. The air changed. People instinctively sensed importance. Then the final car door opened. One man stepped out slowly. Calm. Composed. Confident. His presence shifted attention instantly. Not loud authority. Quiet authority. The most dangerous kind. He walked through the entrance calmly. Staff bowed respectfully. Management greeted him personally. Amara reviewed the guest's name quickly. Her hands froze. Ji-hoon Kang. Her chest tightened slightly. Coincidence. Common name. Nothing unusual. Until he looked directly at her. And smiled. Recognition. Clear. Undeniable. He walked closer. Stopped in front of her. And spoke softly. Hello, Amara. Her breath caught. Because he remembered. Shock made the moment feel unreal. You remember me? She asked quietly. Ji-hoon nodded slowly. I never forgot. Up close, he looked different. Not just appearance. Energy. Confidence shaped by years of experience. The fear she once saw in his eyes had been replaced with calm calculation. You helped me when no one else would, he continued. I had nothing. No future. No support. And yet, you treated me like a person worth saving. Amara struggled to process the transformation. You became. He smiled slightly. Successful? That's one word for it. His tone remained measured. I made choices after that night. Better ones. I found opportunities. People began watching the interaction carefully. Staff sensed significance. Ji-hoon leaned slightly closer. I built everything from the second chance you gave me. Emotion softened his voice. I promised I would never forget. One manager approached nervously. Sir, your meeting is ready. Ji-hoon nodded briefly. Then turned back to Amara. May we speak later? She hesitated, then nodded. That evening, he reserved the hotel restaurant privately. Not extravagant display. Controlled privacy. Respectful distance. I know my world may seem intimidating, he said calmly. But I wanted you to see something clearly. You didn't help a criminal. You helped a man who had lost direction. She listened quietly, still unsure what to say. Kindness creates responsibility, Ji-hoon continued. I chose to become someone worthy of the mercy you showed. His gaze remained steady. Not many people change fate with one decision. You did. Amara felt something unexpected. Relief. Closure. Proof that compassion had meaning. You don't owe me anything, she said softly. I helped because it felt right. He smiled. That is exactly why it mattered. He slid a business card across the table. Anything you need. No conditions. No pressure. Just someone who remembers. For the first time in years, Amara felt seen. Not as an outsider. Not as a stranger. As someone whose choices mattered. Weeks passed. Ji-hoon never abused influence. Never imposed. Occasionally, a quiet message arrived asking about her well-being. Professional opportunities began appearing naturally. Doors opened without explanation. Not because she asked. Because someone believed she deserved them. One evening, walking past a small convenience store, Amara paused briefly. Remembering cold air. Falling snow. A nervous young man holding stolen food. One decision. One moment. One act of compassion. Kindness rarely announces its impact immediately. Sometimes, it echoes through years. Sometimes, it returns unexpectedly. And sometimes, it transforms lives in ways we never imagine. Ji-hoon had built power. But Amara had built something greater. A reason for someone to change. Stories like this remind us that small decisions can shape futures we may never witness. Kindness may feel invisible in the moment, but its impact can last a lifetime. If you believe compassion still matters in this world, consider subscribing for more stories that prove humanity is never wasted.